What's up, everybody? This is Ed from South Jersey Vapors. Today we have the Copper Nemesis clone by Hcigar. This is an awesome mod, and we're going to be doing a review of this. We're going to break it all down, show you the insides, the outsides of it. I can tell you I ordered this piece from 101vape.com. They were the first people that I saw had it in stock. They processed the order within a day or so. It shipped out within 2 days' time, and I had it to my door and in my hands with an atomizer on top of it within 5 days. And that's a pretty quick turnaround time. They're a great company. I highly recommend that you shop their store and check them out. For the review today, it's going to be topped with a Prometheus clone. And the Prometheus clone is made by Tobacco, and it has a dual coil build in it. And it's going to be stainless steel rope wrapped with stainless steel mesh, sleeved in eco wool, with dual 2-3 wraps of 28 gauge Canthal wire. Now, we're going to be doing a breakdown of this piece in a video to come, and a build tutorial, and an overall review of the Prometheus. But I can tell you, great piece, man. Got that from 101 Vape too a couple weeks ago. I've been vaping on it for about 3 weeks now. I'm going to have a quick vape here, and we're going to talk a little more about this piece. It's got about the same weight as a regular Nemesis clone. It's a little bit heavier, but not to where it's extremely noticeable. The threading is exquisite, very, very, very smooth, very buttery smooth. All the pieces come together, configure fine. I found no burrs in any parts of the threading. It wasn't extremely dirty when I got it. I just cleaned up the contacts with some Neverdol, threw a battery in, topped it with one of my favorite Addies, and let me tell you, this thing hits like a hammer. It's still chucking the vapor, and I'm pretty sure my battery's down to about 3.8 right now, and it's still just slamming. The voltage drop we're going to get into in the up-close test is minimal. This thing is all copper. The top is copper. Everything is copper on it except for the silver-plated brass pins in the top and the bottom, just like all of your other Nemesis clones. And also that threading ring that goes up in with the switch, that's going to be also made out of brass. But the rest of the mod, just really, really awesome. We're going to zoom in close. I'm going to show you the breakdown, how the pieces look, how everything comes together, how the airflow control works, and then we'll zip back out for my final thoughts on this piece, man. Here we have the Hcigar Copper Nemesis up close. Okay, we're going to go ahead and break it down. What I can tell you is that out of the box, it comes much like your other Nemesises, or Nemesis. It's going to come with an 18650 extension tube, the main tube, your lock ring, your switch, your top cap with airflow control, but it also is going to go ahead and contain the beauty ring, which can be in between or at the top, wherever you like it, and an 18500 extension sleeve. For our purposes for this review, we're just going to go ahead and leave it in 18650 mode without the beauty ring, because I think you'll get the gist of it. So we'll go ahead and break this thing down. As you can see, it's got the typical Hcigar quality, really, really smooth threads. I found no burrs or issues at all with any of the threads on this device right out of the box. So we've got our bottom switch. We're going to go ahead and take off our lock. Let's set them to the side. Our main tube, which has got the engravings on it. It's going to have our Nemesis and our serial number. And also it's going to have our angel engraved on it as well. And then we have our 18650 extension sleeve and our top cap with airflow control. And I'm going to disassemble the airflow control, and we're going to go over that for just a second. So we'll remove our top cap here. Set this off to the side. Here we have our top cap and our airflow control ring. What's really cool about this mod, and what makes it pretty limitless as far as what you can use it for, you're not limited to just being a rebuildable guy and using this mechanical mod. It has really nice airflow control, very functional. If you notice, on this top cap itself, we've got 2 indentations here, and above them are corresponding air holes that feed your 510 connection. This is not an ego threaded device. It only works in 510, but if you are using something like an EVOD, you're going to need a 510 to ego adapter. So just keep that in mind if you're somebody that's using glassomizers or clearomizers with an ego threading. So if you notice, we have these 2 detents right along this outer ring, and they correspond with those air holes, and those air holes go right into your 510 connection, would feed any bottom fed glassamizer or clearamizer like a Pro Tank or a Vivi Nova or anything like that. So on the actual control ring, which is going to ride this O-ring that sits around the outside of here, we've got air holes that are drilled straight through the side of that. So we would slide this onto the top cap, and when we have the holes lined up with the detents, then we know that the hole is lined up with the hole that feeds the 510 connection. So you can have it in 3 different modes. You can have it in one single air hole going in and feeding your 510 connection. If you turn it and line both dots up with the air holes, you're going to have double the airflow going to your 510 connection. And if you turn it off to the side where it isn't lined up with them at all, you'd have no airflow going through and into your 510 connection. So it's a really beautiful thing if you're using bottom feds. And the airflow actually works good. I've tried this myself with a Pro Tank, and it really enhances the performance of a Pro Tank versus being on top of something with just a flat top that relies on the slits that are cut into it and feeding through the threads. This is far more efficient and really, really works wonders. It'll bring your Pro Tanks back to life if that's what you vape on. So we'll set this to this, well, you know, let's go ahead and go over the pin while I've got it in my hand. It's got a 510 adjustable pin. It's made out of silver-plated brass. I can't attest to the quality of the silver plating, but I can tell you that this mod hits like a hammer to the head. So the way that this works is, this pin is removable and adjustable. It sits inside a piece of black Delrin. And when you're fastening a device on top of your mod, whatever atomizer you're using, the first thing you would need to do is go ahead and back this out to where it's not falling out, but where it's backed out a bit. And we're going to use a voltmeter for the purpose of this demonstration. Go ahead and screw down your device until it's flush. And then you would go ahead and just raise this connection until it makes decent contact. You don't want to crank it down or over tighten it, because what you'll end up doing is pushing the Delrin back out of the top cap, and you could possibly damage the pin in your device. But once you've made pretty solid contact, then you go ahead and put this device back together and bring your battery in and show how all that works, which I'm going to do in just a second. I'm going to set this to the side. The next thing I want to cover is the switch. The Nemesis has one of the coolest switch designs there is. These come stock with a set of springs inside. One of them is made of brass and the other of stainless steel. And the spring switches are pretty good. But I've always upgraded mine to magnets. I like the way that that feels better. I don't necessarily notice a difference in performance for better or for worse, but it just feels better to me. The throw is nice. So the way that this switch works is you've got some brass that threads into your main tube, and if you can see inside of here, this outer ring would come up and meet flush with the bottom of the mod when you depress the button. So it's got an adjustable pin here as well. If you just press this down, this silver plated contact can be unscrewed pretty easily to adjust the throw. The further out that you have the connection on here, the less distance that the button actually has to travel for it to come up and touch the battery. For me personally, I like it tightened all the way down. I feel safer that way, and it's a more than decent enough throw for my personal taste. So that's the button right there, and we'll do a video later on how to do the install on the magnets and a full breakdown of the Nemesis button, but for now we're just going to go ahead and leave it at that. So we've got all of our pieces here, and we're going to go ahead and reassemble this. And if you notice, as I'm putting it together, it doesn't make a whole lot of sound because the threads are extremely smooth. Got our lock ring. And because it's copper, I would say be careful to not cross thread it. Once it's locked onto the threads and moving freely, then you can go ahead and spin it quickly. But always make sure that your threads are lined up, and the way that I do that is by pressing it in, rolling it backwards until I feel it slide right into the slot that it's got to be in, and then I go ahead and put it together. So I'm going to take the button off. I'm going to go ahead and put the top cap on with the voltmeter so I can show you how we eliminate battery rattle in a Nemesis. Like I said, it's one of the best designs for purposes of our test, we're using the 18650 by Sony. It's the newest version, the 21 mAh 30 amp battery. I really like these. Go ahead and slide the battery in. Always put the positive facing your 510 connection. And we're going to go ahead and put our lock, our switch on here. Now, the cool thing about this is that the switch is one single unit. And the switch itself is what eliminates the battery rattle. So it fits all your different button top batteries, all your different flat top batteries, because they're all slightly different sizes. You know, if you're using an MNKE and then you put a Sony in something, say like a Qi, then you have to make adjustments for the length. The Nemesis is self-adjusting, which is just awesome. So we've made our connection. This battery is 4.28, so it is a full battery, and that's what we'll be using for our voltage drop test. So I want to go over a couple of things before we do the voltage drop test, and that is that the engraving on here is really nice. It's not super deep, so you'll want to be careful when polishing this mod. You will definitely take the ink out pretty quickly using abrasives and polishes on it. So maybe polish around the logo if you can, or if you like that patinaed look, just hold it for a while and it'll start to change color. I've had this one for about a week and it came out of the box pretty shiny, and it's already starting to get a pretty nice patina on it, although it hasn't tarnished as quickly as something, say, like my brass Nemesis did. So I'm pretty sure, but I'm not 100% positive. It seems that there's some kind of coating on here that goes and basically makes it take a little bit longer to oxidize, protects the metal just a little bit. But it's a really beautiful copper color. The engravings are nice on the bottom cap. We also have the Biatmix, I don't know how to say that, Atmo Mixani logo and the steam train, just like you would find on the stainless steel version of the Nemesis. Another thing to note is that, you know, this is indeed a clone by Hcigar, and one thing I've noticed about the clones of Nemesis from Hcigar is you can tell right away that one's a clone because the battery vent holes are lined up outside of the feet of the angel. But on this particular version, the copper version, if you can see, you'll notice that the hole is right at the base of the angel's feet, pretty much dead on center. But on, say, the stainless steel version, which I'll go ahead and bring in here, the vent hole is off to the side. It's just off to the right of the engraving of the angel there. And that's pretty typical of most of your clones, is that that vent hole is not going to be lined up perfectly with the angel like it would be on the authentic one. But what I noticed is that on the copper, it is lined up right dead center. So again, we have our battery coming in at 4.28. For this purpose of this, we're going to use a Prometheus with a dual wrap coming in at 0.37 ohms. Let's take this to the side. We're going to attach this atomizer, which is awfully heavy, but we're going to go ahead and attach that to our volt reader. Get a decent connection without crushing it. And you saw it was coming in at 0.23 volts. And we're going to go ahead and see what it comes out at. 3.95, 3.92, 3.91, 3.90, 3.89, 3.89, and it's going down pretty steadily. Let's take a reading on the battery one more time. 4.20, so it went down pretty much in conjunction with the battery. So 4.20, and we're using a 0.37 atomizer. 3.92. That's a pretty minimal voltage drop. So we're looking at about a little bit less than 0.3 volts in the drop. And it just really chucks the vapor. So let's go ahead and we'll go back out to the long shot and see how she vapes. So there you have it.
This is the Copper Nemesis clone from HCigar. Again, I got this from 101vape.com. It was $49.99 plus $2.50 for the shipping. This piece was packaged and ready to go within 2 days. I had it to my door with an Addy on top within 5 days, and I think that's pretty stellar customer service. Final thoughts on this thing? I think it's great. Threading's great. Machine work is great. The finish on it, great. The things that I really like about it also are the engravings against the copper look really gorgeous. The air hole, the vent hole for the battery, the way that it's lined up with the very bottom tip of the angel's feet kind of sets it apart from my other Nemesis clones as far as looking authentic, even though I don't believe that there is a version of this in copper. $49.99 plus shipping. Is it worth it? Yeah, I would have to say yes, this mod is actually worth it. It is an all copper mod, folks, and it hits like a steam train. It's really good stuff. I like it with this Prometheus atomizer on top of it. I've tried it with a couple of other atomizers, and they've all been great as well. We're going to get to a full review of this piece just as soon as we can. That's something I also picked up at 101vape.com. So please click like on the video if you found this informative and helpful in any way. Check out our Facebook page. Check out the other YouTube videos we have for other reviews of other great vape gear. And until next time, vape on, man.